Hi, my name is Rod Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. Now, as you know, this is where we interview people that are just flat out crushing it in this business. And we show you guys the inside scoop as to how they're creating massive success, not just in their business, but also in their lives. And as always, I've got my co-host, who's also the director of our massive action team for the Warrior Group, Mark Nagy, on the call. Mark, what's up, brother?
Well, it's going to be a fun one. First time, I think, ever I've had two Rods here on the podcast. So it should
be fun. Yeah. So his name's Rodrigo Valdez. And Rod, he's in 200 plus doors that he's done since he's become a warrior. And he's a great guy, lives in Southern California. He's got 4 kids. And we're just going to have some fun today. Rod, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, Rod. It's an honor to honestly even be here. So
no, it's a pleasure, and you deserve it, man. You took what we had and you ran with it. Now I know you joined the program in February of last year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. It was a virtual boot camp, and right after that, I said, "Let's jump in and get to
it." Love it. So why don't you just give us a little background on where you came from, maybe what you did as a as a W-2, and what skill set you brought to this business, and then we'll fire away with some questions.
Yeah, definitely. So I still have a W-2. I'm a 100% commissioned sales engineer, heating and air conditioning industry for commercial applications, and I do well in the Southern California market. So I started taking commissions and doing private money loans to house flippers, developers, things like that. Ultimately got into a couple rentals and then got connected with a syndicator and did my first LP deal with him. He eventually kept sending more deals and I was passing them on to friends. And I came to the realization, why can't I set these deals up myself? And honestly, I don't know how I came across your name, but I did, went to a boot camp, and the rest is history.
Been all downhill from there, right?
Yeah.
So now, did you align with other people in the Warrior Group to take down some of these doors? Did you do it on your own? Did you align in a different team? How talk about your team.
Well, I think first and foremost, because of the Warrior program, I did get a coach. I didn't really know what I was doing, so I kind of followed my coach's lead. And for a good portion of the doors, I've had his expertise and guidance to take some of these doors down. Some of them have been with him and some have not been with him.
Oh, fantastic. So you actually did some with your coach, which is very common in the program. I mean, we encourage it. And so, and just so you guys know that are listening, our coaches we don't have professional coaches. We have operators. All of our coaches are, I don't know how many we have now, 50, 60, and they can only take a couple people at a time because they're actually doing the business as a business. And so that's a key piece of this. So what did you bring to the table? Because you've got some construction related experience, you've got sales related experience. Speak to where you added value.
Yeah. And whenever I get asked this question, I always try to say this in the most humblest way that I can, but having an engineering background, I do a lot of the underwriting. I get the numbers. Having a sales background, I can talk to people. Not that I super enjoy it, but I can do that and build relationships. I know the sales side of things, raising capital, investor relations. And then because I do well in my job, I also bring some net worth to the table on certain deals. So it's been kind of a combination of everything. I think I've kind of zeroed in on investor relations and underwriting because that's the bulk of what I do for our team. But
what do you enjoy? What do you enjoy the most?
Honestly, it's the teaching side of it. The more I learn, it's nicer to just share the knowledge that I've gained, and I feel like I have an ability to do that in a sense. Obviously, I'm still learning and growing. But
so, who are you teaching? Who are you helping?
Just people that see what I'm doing. They have questions. They reach out and say, "Hey, what is this thing called syndications?" Right. So I kind of teach them a little bit, and then just from experience, how I've gone about it and have done deals myself.
Nice. Well, that's why I love it. I mean, that's why I love what I do. But what's interesting is you are an anomaly in that regard, in the fact that you can sell and you're super analytical, and that happens. But you enjoy, you said you're an engineer, so you don't enjoy the sales quite as much maybe as the underwriting. But well, that's very interesting. So where are your assets located? Are they all over, or are you in one particular area?
My main focus has been Arizona. That's where the bulk of the deals are that we're looking
Great
at.
market.
But I do have East Coast and Midwest deals also.
Okay. Yeah. Scott, my partner's in Phoenix. It's just incredible what's happened in that southern state. So, yeah.
For some context there, what are the roles that the others play? I know you mentioned your coach, but the other people on your team, what role are they playing? Being in Southern California, I'm here as well. Are they the boots on the ground, the management, the sponsors? What roles are those people playing, and how has that helped you scale a little bit quicker?
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's primarily a group of 4 of us. I will do a bulk of the underwriting. I did pull in one of our partners who's also a warrior, that does a lot of the asset management. He had a lot of experience flipping houses and dealing with contractors, so he fit that role perfectly for us. Another one of us is very into the marketing side, the business management of the team. He has an insurance sales background. And then our 4th member has years of experience as a commercial broker himself, but not necessarily in the multifamily industry, but more on the retail office space side. So he's got a lot of the broker relationships also. And so together we kind of lean on each other for different roles, but we are all capable of helping in different spots.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask you this. Do you have a favorite failure that helps set you up for future success?
I'd have to say it started when I first started investing in real estate.
Okay.
Again, I used commissions to do private money loans, and I lent some money to a developer. The deal sounded great. Long story short, this was 2017, and I'm still in litigation on trying to get my money back. But it was something that I knew I could risk, and I was comfortable with the risk. And even though things didn't turn out great, it was something that put me into perspective to do a little bit more due diligence on who I'm working with.
Yeah, which is a critical piece. I mean, and guys, those of you listening, this business is a team sport, and so you're going to have partners, and like a marriage, partnerships are easy to get into and hard to get out of. And I mean, I host a mastermind. It's the largest multifamily mastermind, I think, on the planet. It's about 14 to 16 billion in assets. In fact, I'm flying to Houston to meet tomorrow. We're meeting tomorrow. We're one of our 3 times a year. And there were 2 very large partners in there that broke up, a male and a female broke up very large partnerships. So the reason I bring this up is I have a free resource for you. If you text the word partnership to 72345, it's a list of questions that you should ask before you get into partnership. It's very valuable. I'll show it to you. Yeah, here you go. Questions you should ask when forming a partnership. And it's free. And, because you've got to ask all the hard questions up front so that, you don't get caught up in the emotion of it. And you have, real good understanding of who's doing what and so on and so forth, as you move forward. So there's no bad feelings. Next question is, who do you think is the best type of person that's suited for this business?
I would honestly say it's someone that's hungry. I think with anything, right? If they have a desire, they're going to go after it and figure out ways around the obstacles to overcome them, right? And if you're just kind of just trying it out, well, then, the level of effort that you put in is what you're going to get out of it, I would say.
Yeah, actually, let me hammer something home on that. That's one of the reasons I spend so much time on mindset and help. At our boot camp, the first thing we do is goal setting on steroids, because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? And you've got to create that burning desire so that you push through. You got to want it. Otherwise, you're never going to do it. And so that's why I hone in on that first, and that's why our warriors are so, obviously incredibly successful, because they're taking massive action.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about one of those obstacles, or at least I think a perceived obstacle right now, competition. You know, a lot of people might think the market is saturated or there's a lot of investors out there. What are some of the things that you're doing right now, Rod, to stand out above the other investors in a competitive market?
I think it ultimately boils down to your relationships. Just staying in contact with, the different team members, whether it's your property manager, your lenders, other brokers, otherwise you're just a number, right? So when it's competitive, and yes, your offer may look good, but they're going to want to work with someone that they like. So we try to stay on top of having consistent interaction with, the people that we're pulling into the team.
Great answer. Yeah, great answer. What words of wisdom would you share with someone that's thinking about getting into this business? And let me just say this, guys, if you're thinking about it, good Lord, don't wait too long, because what is hitting the fan right now, and there is going to be exponential freaking opportunity coming. And here's why. And it's interesting. I just had an interview with somebody. Actually, I was being interviewed on his show, and we went back and forth a little bit. Back in the last crash, 08 and 9, is because, if you could fog a mirror, you could borrow money to buy a house. Well, that's kind of happened in the multifamily space over the last 3 years with bridge debt, at 80% loan to cost, and brand new operators that had never, didn't have someone like me looking over their shoulder that did deals that they shouldn't have done and paid too much, and so on and so forth. And I think that the correction isn't going to be so much in the single family space as it is going to be in the multifamily space because of that. So it's going to be real interesting to see, because, like that bridge debt is unregulated, and to fix that, what happened in 2008 and 9, they made home loans much more difficult to get. And they're, you can't just, state your income, for example. They had stated income back then. So it's going to be very, very interesting. So, if there was ever a time to learn this business, it is right now. Do not wait. So anyway, back to my question. What words of wisdom would you give someone that's thinking about this?
You preach it all the time. Take action, take massive action, right? Every step forward is a step in the right direction. If you're sitting there just, I was guilty of it a lot of times, was having paralysis by analysis and just kind of figuring out what I needed to do. Just every step you take is a good step. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
What are some of those things? Maybe for people listening that don't have a coach, don't have a mentor, that's fine if they don't want to do that. What are some of those like practical items that you think people listening could get started on today to start taking action, that just don't know where to start?
Yeah. I think it's repetition, right? I've heard Rod say it so many times, you have to kiss a million frogs or whatever, right? And you'll only get good at the things that you practice. So, if it's underwriting, you struggle with that, just get started looking at numbers, get started looking at OMs and figuring out what terminology is, right? Get started just talking and having conversations with brokers or lenders. Just start to learn something and just take it a little bit at a time, whatever your time allows you to do.
How to eat a whale, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And that's how you do it.
Bye.
Yeah. So what comes first, finding the deal or finding the money?
I would say probably finding the money. And the reason why I say that is because when you find a deal and you don't have the money, then the deal is really not a deal because you can't close it, right? So you're always building those relationships, trying to find people that, again, trust you, that you relate to, and are willing to invest with or alongside you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree right now. What do you guys think? Both of you guys, what do you think is harder right now?
Well, finding the deal has been the hardest thing up to this point. Okay. In the last few years, finding the money has been easy. Now, I think that could very well flip right now, because, what's going to happen is people are going to be fearful, which is stupid, because opportunity is coming if they, invest with the right operators, and exponential opportunity. Some economists saying the greatest transfer of wealth in history is coming, depending on who you listen to, but certainly opportunity. We're seeing, big price reductions already. Some people aren't reducing price yet, and some operators are still paying too much, but it's definitely going to start happening. And the Fed is raising the rates either today or tomorrow. They're meeting today and tomorrow. So it's, probably at least another 0.5% interest, 50 basis points. So, we're going to start seeing pullback and opportunity. And then of course, all these skinny deals that were done the last few years that, people didn't pro forma higher interest rates. I mean, our last deal we did in San Antonio at 3.2% interest. We're pretty sure interest rate's going to be 6% by the end of the week. Okay. So, that's double what we paid, less than a year ago. So, it's got to impact things. So let me ask you this, with what you know so far in the business, Rod, if you were to go back and do it any differently, is there anything you'd do different with what you know already?
The learning curve was so great for me. And again, I just dug in and tried to learn what I could. Mm-hmm. I think I would have leaned a little bit heavier or potentially found a little bit more experience. And that's why I got into the Warrior Group, is because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I got the coaching program because I wanted to do that. And I think I would have probably leaned even more so into coaching and finding
done it sooner and heavier. Yeah. By the way, guys, if you're interested in the Warrior program, text the word crush to 72345 to apply. And we'll set up a call. Again, that's crush to 72345, so we can help you freaking crush it in what's coming.
My team, by the way, on that, even if it's not the right thing, we can help you get prepared for what is coming. Yep. And so that way, what to take action on, regardless of whether you work with us or not, when deals do start hitting the market and better deals, I want to say.
You'll leave the calls with my team better than when you went on them. I can promise you that for sure. So what motivates you, Rod? What makes you jump out of freaking bed in the morning? Because I know you're motivated. You're very soft-spoken and very deliberate speaker, but I know inside you're super motivated. So tell me where that drive comes from.
For me, honestly, it's a calling. The progression that I've taken to be able to be where I am now and to learn how to make money and also teach other people. I think it's just a position that God has put me in to where I can not only bring him glory, but also teach others just what I've experienced. So, if I fail, that's fine because I know I'm failing forward. But ultimately what it is that I've been put in this position. Doors have been opened for me to step through, and I'm learning as I go and just using that to do what has been put in front of me, I guess.
Yeah. I know that we had you host our we do a Q&A session every other week, and we regularly have our Warriors host them. We had you host one recently, and that was the first time you'd done it, and you were a little nervous. I remember the conversation, and you killed it. You absolutely killed it. And I do this in the Warrior program. I even have Warriors do some of the training calls because people get a different perspective. As people do this business, they do it a little bit differently, so they get different perspectives, and it's very, very powerful. And the students love having so many different mentors that are doing it right now involved, and it's just kind of this thing that builds on itself. It's just freaking incredible. Would you agree with me, Murad?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, the interesting thing about what you said about teaching is that when other people ask you these questions that maybe you haven't thought about, it opens up your mind to a different conversation. Oh, I could think this way. I could think that way, which is one of the coolest parts about those. But I know you were talking about your goals, what drives you now. Was that your initial definition of success in multifamily when you got started? Or has that changed over time?
Has it evolved? Because goals evolve.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely evolved. I remember when I was talking when I first got on, I was like, I want to hit 300 doors in the first year, and it was really encouraging to hear, oh yeah, you can do that. And the more that I've learned and done it, I mean, I'm almost I'm at 291 as of today, and we're putting another 95 under contract any day now. So Fantastic. That's going to push me over the 300. So. Yes, I mean, I still had that calling, and that for me anyways, that word from God to do real estate, and I didn't know what it was. So that was always kind of a motivation, but to see the goals and how quickly they can be obtained. Yeah, it's evolved for sure.
So shifting gears just for a second, just because you enjoy the training. And I saw that when you did the Q&A the other day, if you could teach school children one thing for an hour a week, what might you teach?
Oh man. I mean, you hear it a lot, And I think that's also part of why I'm where I'm at now is I didn't get taught financial education growing up, so school kids, I mean, I've got kids from 6 to 21 and my 6-year-old's not going to get it. Right. When I talk about financial education, but school age kids, if they're able to understand it a little bit better, I know it's not necessarily taught in the education system, but I would say that that's probably.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's crazy that they don't teach that. Yeah, I actually think it could be by design. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but anyway, yeah, I don't get me started on our.
Well,
our school.
They say that school and college and everything, it's taught to make somebody a quote unquote employee. Obviously, you have to have employees to run the world, so that's understandable. But we obviously don't want to be that. We want to be entrepreneurs. I heard a cool idea the other day on a podcast. I don't have kids myself, but I forget who it was. Someone was saying what they do for their kids is they give them an allowance every week, and their kids can either go spend that money as allowance, or they can reinvest that allowance back into their parents and create a cash flow that then builds up over time. And it teaches that person, hey, you could take your money and go spend it, or you can reinvest it and get a higher cash flow, and then that continues to build up. I just thought that was a cool.
That is awesome.
idea.
That is absolutely awesome. I love that. Love it.
Yeah. So, Rod, last thing I want to talk about, I know you were a little nervous about this topic, but for those, thinking about the recession, the fear, etc., we talked about taking action. What advice do you think you'd give to the listeners listening right now that are living in fear and are afraid of what might be coming?
I think first of all, don't let fear drive you. That's me personally. I don't live by fear, and that's why I think I'm not afraid to fail. So number one, don't be afraid of fear. Push through it. There's something greater on the other side. But as far as like what I'm actually doing, I think doing a lot of the underwriting for our team, I think we look at things just a little bit more conservatively than we did in the past. But it is, you also have to understand your market as well. So,
well, you have to be more conservative right now. I mean, I've been pounding it into all the Warriors because there were a lot of mistakes made over the last few years for people that weren't at all conservative. I mean, I looked at people doing presentations. They had no operating reserves. We pull in 6 months operating reserves. I know you do as well. And they didn't stress test the deal to see what the break even point was. I mean, just really silly, important stuff you have to do when you do a deal. But, let's shift gears again. I want to ask you a question because you still have a full-time W-2. You have a family, you have kids, right?
Yeah. 4 of them.
4. Wow. Yeah, I knew it. And what's the age range?
The youngest is 6 and the oldest is 21.
Holy cow. So that's a heck of a range. And you are still able to do all this on the side. Talk about that a little bit. How have you been able to manage your time and still be there? Because you know how much I push that, to be there for your family, to be, present when you're with the people that matter and so on and so forth. How have you managed that?
Yeah. So, I mean, even with my W-2 being 100% commissioned, I have to get after it when I do. And if I don't, then it's 100% on me. So I have to time block. So there's parts of the day that are strictly for work, parts of the day that are strictly for real estate, and then parts of the day that's just family. So I will put cutoffs on when I can do different things. And then I'll also set windows of time that, okay, because I do have the flexibility with my job, I can allocate this hour to do underwriting or reach out to brokers or network. Right. So a lot of it is, managing time by setting aside the time that's important for you.
Yep, that's right. And that's what I teach as well in my weekly planning process. So now, last question. How did you overcome fear to get started, like to do that first deal? How did you get past it? What if any mechanisms did you use to push yourself over the finish line with that?
I would say a lot of it has been my faith.
Yeah.
I know that for me anyways, and my beliefs, I know that God's got my back. And like I said, just with that developer, if I lost the money, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I think of personally what comes to me is the parable of the talents. You can either use what God has given you and apply that to something, or you can bury it in the sand and do nothing. And so for me, if I fail, I still know that I'm going to be okay regardless. There's a lot worse things that could happen. And if it's, a deal goes sour, a deal goes sour, but I can still move forward.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thanks for coming on the show, brother. You absolutely added value. And I know it resonated with a lot of people that are similar to who you are, so really appreciate, and I mean that in the best possible way, and really appreciate you coming on, brother. It's good to see you again.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Yep.
Thanks,
All
Rod.
right, Rod. All right. What'd you say? I didn't hear that.
I said, thanks, Rod and Rod.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our Warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year, we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text the word crush to 72345, and we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out. Again, to apply, text crush to 72345.